Okay, so for example number 10, here we need to divide these two monomials. Okay, so in dividing monomials, just like in multiplication, we need to start with the numerical coefficients. So this is negative 21 divided by 3, like that. And then for the x variables, we need to subtract them. So there'll be x3 minus 2. Okay, so y2 minus 1. And then z4 minus 2. So negative 21 over 3 is negative 7. X 3 minus 2 is 1. So x 2 minus 1 is 1. So that's y. Z equals z raised to 4 minus 2 is 2. And that will be the answer for problem number 10 or example number 10. Okay, let's go to example number 11 now. Okay, so here, of course, if we divide negative 9 and negative 18, that will be decimals. So we don't want that to happen. We need to keep it as a fraction. So we need to simplify that. Okay, I'll do that. We'll do that later. Okay, so let's consider the terms with, the variable a. Now, the one on top is higher, the exponent on top is higher than the one at the bottom. So I'll put that on top. That's a raised to 4 minus 1. Okay. I emphasize that because if you look at the b, the ones in the denominator, the exponent in the denominator is higher than the one on top. So if you see that kind of problem, then you will still subtract them, but that denominator, the b rather in the denominator will remain in the denominator. So it'll be 7 minus 2 now. Okay. So for c, since they are the same, I'll just put that on top, 3 minus 3. And then there's no d in the denominator, so I'll just write the d here on top. Okay. Negative 9 over negative 18, both are divisible by negative 9, so we can divide both sides by negative 9 and simplify this. This will be 1 half. 4 minus 1 is 3, so that's a raised to 3. 3 minus 3 is 0, and then times d, all over b raised to 5. Now c raised to 0 is equal to 1, so that means we can just get rid of that. So now the final answer is a raised to 3 d over 2b raised to 5. And that will be the final answer. Okay. Okay, so this time we have a multinomial on top and a monomial in the denominator. So this is again division. Okay. So let's start with the this first. All right, so let's start with that. That'd be 4 over negative 2. Okay. And then x raised to 2 minus 1. And then y raised to 3 minus 1. Okay. And then after that, we need to consider this. Okay, so that'd be minus 10 over negative 2. So x raised to 4 minus 1, and then y raised to 1 minus 1. Let's simplify the answer. 4 times negative 2 is negative 2. This will be x, and then y raised to 2. Negative 10 divided by negative 2 is positive 5, so this is plus 5 now. X raised to 3. Y minus 1 minus 1 is 0, and y raised to 0 is equal to 1, so there's no need for us to write it there. All right. Okay, so let's go to the second to the last example. So first, let's divide this. All right. So that'd be negative 12 over 3. So m raised to 3 minus 2, and then n raised to 4 minus 3, plus 18 over 3. Okay, this time here. M raised to 4 minus 2, n raised to 3 minus 3. Then finally here, so minus 3 over 3 m squared minus 2 n cubed minus 3. Okay. Let's simplify everything. So negative 12 over 3 is negative 4 m. 3 minus 2 is 1. 4 minus 3 is 1. So that's negative 4 mn plus 6. 18 divided by 3 is 6. M raised to 2. 4 minus 2 is 2. 3 minus 3 is 0. And raised to 0 is equal to 1. Okay. So minus 1. 3 divided by 3 is 1. So this is going to be 0. This is going to be 0. So that's 1 times 1. Final answer, negative 4 mn plus 6m squared minus 1. All right, last example. All right, so let's start with this. There you go. So 20 divided by negative 4 is negative 5. A squared, and then a, that's just a. 2 minus 1 is 1. B raised to 3, and then b squared. So 3 minus 2, 1. So b raised to 1. C raised to 4, C raised to 3, 4 minus 3, 1. So C raised to 1. So negative 5, ABC. Next, this. Negative 32 over negative 4 is positive 8. A raised to 3, A is 3 minus 1, so A squared. B squared over B squared, so that means 0, right? So B raised to 0 is equal to 1. Now here, the 1 in the denominator, the C, okay, the exponent is larger than the 1 on top. So that means it's the other way around, meaning it's 3 minus 1, but the result will be in the denominator. So this is C squared. Okay, minus 40 divided by negative 4 is negative 10. A raised to 5 divided by A, so that's 5 minus 1, which is 4. B squared over B squared, again, that'll be B raised to 0, which is equal to 1. C cubed over C cubed, that's 3 minus 3, which is 0, and that again will be equal to 1. So that means this will be the final answer.